You could do a live stream next week while we're gone. It'd be fun. You could just like knock it out. Hey everybody, we're live. What? Yeah, it'd be real weird. All right, everybody, before we start, I got to show you something. Oh! We're good. Little durability check. We're good. So I want to show you this, and I just bumped it, but luckily it's A-okay. A-okay, A-okay. No, just kidding. So Carrie made this for her cousin or somebody. Yeah. See if we can get it to zoom here. Photobomb. It's, well, you're photobombing my hand. Oh, damn. Check out this pen. It's a, tell them what it is, Carrie.
It's a lathes pen. It's a fountain pen, and I made it here at Turner's Warehouse with watch parts.
Yeah, so sorry, Carrie's not mic'd, but it's a gunmetal lathes fountain. It was her first watch part blank. She made it on her lunch hour over the course of several days, and it looks pretty killer. Nice job.
Up until the point where you bumped.
Up until the point where I bashed it into the lathe. No, it's okay. But that came out great. So if you haven't made a watch part, I think we have videos on here about watch parts. We definitely have ring videos about watch parts. What?
I was watching the delay, and I did the same move that I did.
But don't hesitate to try a watch part, because that's Carrie's first try. Now, she's made rings before. Have you made watch part rings before?
No.
No? Okay. Well, first watch part anything, and I'd give it like a 10 out of 10. It's pretty killer. It looks really good on that gunmetal lathes, too. And if you haven't made a lathes, Turner's Warehouse is the only U.S. store that has them. They're from Beaufort in England. And the lathes is a really cool pen. It posts. So it's kind of similar to the Mistral in size, but it posts. It's really nice, and it looked great as a watch part. I've never done a watch part on the lathes, and that gunmetal with the black carbon fiber is pretty killer. So if you want to try watch parts, that's the kind of stuff you can make. Makes killer pens, killer rings. And if you need parts, we have 10 gram and 20 gram, and then we have a whole watch part set for pen making with the carbon fiber and all that. So that was a good way for me to plug watch parts, because she made such a killer pen. So good job, Carrie. All right. All right, it looks like we got a bunch of people in, so thanks for joining. If you're in the chat, let us know who you are and where you're from. It's cool because we get locals here in Gilbert as far as like, you know, England and Australia and wherever else. So it's cool to see what everybody's doing. But I'm going to jump right into it because today is a gift making day. So this is a Father's Day set. The next couple weeks is Father's Day. So I'm doing a set today. I'm doing a pen and letter opener set. Now, one thing I want to make sure everyone knows, a letter opener is not a knife. So it is not a sharp blade. I would call it a blunt blade. It's meant to tear the crease, because I've had people get these and say, hey, this isn't sharp. And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's not ever going to be sharp. I guess you could sharpen it if you want, but I wouldn't, because it's meant to just tear the crease. But letter openers are pretty cool, and dads like opening letters, I think, the old school way. And I'm going to show you these two kits that go together really cool and really well, and then you could tweak it. Now, the next couple weeks, our videos and our posts and stuff, you'll see a lot of cool Father's Day gift ideas and whatever. So I always think of it in multiple ways. Like if you're making a Father's Day gift for someone, or you're getting a gift for a father who turns, you know, you can also do that. Or if you are a father and you want to get yourself something or whatever. So there's a lot of options with this. But we're going to make today two things. We're going to make a pen and a letter opener, and they're going to be matching Cholla cast in sapphire blue. I should have brought that Cholla pen over. But anyway, Cholla is a cactus that grows here in Arizona. If you're not familiar with it, it's a really cool cactus, but it looks like a skeleton when it dies, because the green part falls off, and then it leaves these cool skeletons that are like full of holes, and then we cast them, and they look really cool. So if you haven't ever seen Cholla, take a look at our website and look up Cholla. It's spelled Cholla. It looks like Cholla. That's a different thing. Cholla is a really cool cactus. The wood is really hard, but it's got huge holes in it where it's got the gaps. So yeah, it's perfect for casting. So these are cast in sapphire blue, a P-Town subby mica, and it's a really bright, brilliant blue. And these are gonna look really cool. So I guess I have a question for you guys. Since we're doing two things to make this set, we're gonna do the letter opener and the pen. Do you guys want me to turn the pen, then turn the letter opener, then do the sanding and finishing on each, or do you want me to do them separately, like per pen or per item? Because we are gonna do a CA finish on this. And I mean, I'm not gonna keep you guys here all day, so I'm gonna show you some fast CA finishing. But you let me know what you guys think as far as progress. Now, obviously, you know, we're not gonna clean the lathe in between each one, so we're gonna have to roll with it a little bit. But yeah, let me know. Amy, I just asked what they want me to do as far as order, but we're gonna get started here. So I've got everything laid out. Whoops, wrong camera, there we go. So we've got the letter opener kit here with the bushings, the pen kit here, it's a roller ball with the two blanks and then the letter opener blank, and we will get that going. All right, and as always, I'm Chad from Turner's Warehouse. If this is your first time, thanks for joining us. If you're a regular, thanks for joining us. It's kind of become a cool little meetup here on Wednesdays, don't you guys think? A couple little program notes, if you want to call it that. Oh, thank you. Carrie brought me the Cholla pen. So this is an example. Now this is a junior Herald, I thought so. And this is a turquoise blue. Let's see if I can get it to focus here. This is a turquoise blue. And it looks so cool. So whether you're into it or not, it's kind of a classy look. Thank you. But the one I'm turning today is sapphire blue. And I think it's going to look really cool because it's like a darker, richer color. But anyway, I'm Chad, Turner's Warehouse. Amy is on the computer doing the moderation. She's doing a little bit of moderation today, so she's moderately moderating, right? Or moderationally moderating? And adequately moderation. So we're going to turn the... Oh, you put up a... I was like, what is that box on my screen? You put up a poll. Okay, I think that'll be better, and then you guys can see the CA finish. I do have a video on that if you want to go back and see CA finish, but it's kind of nice live because you can see the actual real time. Because in a video, who knows if I edited out all the crappy stuff, right, and made it look like hunky-dory, even though it wasn't, right? Okay, so we're going to turn. I am on a mandrel because the letter opener and the kit, the manager kit I'm doing, don't have TBC bushings. So I am going to use my mask. So I'm using a power cap. Oh, and it'll cool my face down. I do get asked, in my mouth. I do get asked all the time if you can wear glasses with it. And clearly you can. Oh, it's so cool. All right, so we're going to speed the lathe up. I'm going to use an easy wood tool. It's a square radius with a negative rake. Now I don't need negative rake for these, but it was on my tool, so I haven't changed it for like weeks and weeks. But I got the lathe going 3,500. Got a weird noise there. Let's see what happens. All right, there we go. So when I come in on a square blank, I like to kind of use the corner of my tool and go across. And then I can just kind of rip through the material. And I'm getting those edges off, I'm getting the label off, all kinds of stuff here. This rest is a tiny bit low. You want your tool rest at the height so your cutter is center of your mandrel. There we go. Now we're round, we got ribbons. So I could now go to my face of the tool and just use the whole face of it, which will level everything off. It'll clean off my material. Is the sound okay with my mask on? Excellent. All right, so everybody remembers what this looked like, hopefully. I'll grab this is the cut off of the block. So this is what we could see, barely see any cholla. Now if we stop it, we should be able to start to see the cholla here. There it is. Now it looks like it's very one-sided. Hopefully I'll get into a little more cholla here and not just have it be one-sided, but you never know because cholla is a natural thing. So you can see this piece was a little small and I drilled it right down the center. So I may not have cholla on all sides. That's a negative of drilling on the lathe with something like cholla, but if you drilled on a drill press, you could pick and choose where your hole is. So I'm going to leave this a little bulbous in the middle. I'm just going to taper my ends to the bushings. Because I want a nice fit up. But I don't want this to be like a super skinny handle. Alright. And you could do some kind of like shape or something in there, but being that it's cholla, I'm hoping that's cool and looks good. So I do have it a little fat. I tend to call these pregnant pens, where it's a little bulbous here. Yeah, see, I'm kind of half cholla on this one because of the way I drilled it. So there's probably a little more cholla, but it's one way or the other, I don't know. But it'll look cool nonetheless. So take a look at this lathe. This is the letter opener. Yeah. Huh? Yeah, so the half and half thing, I think in the beginning it would have really bothered me because I'd be like, oh, it should have been perfect. But it's kind of just cool on its own because this is going to be so shiny that it won't really bother me. All right. Now we're going to the pen. So this is a two-part pen. The Manager is a really cool pen if you haven't made one. It's a capped pen, so it comes in rollerball or fountain. The cool thing is the top and the bottom tubes are the same size. So it's a 2764 drill bit. How did that get in there? There's a gnat in my mask. That was weird. A little gnat. So right now in Arizona we have like tons of these little gnat bugs that are everywhere. You can't get away from them. One flew into my mask. Okay, so scratch my nose. Huh? He's gonna feel real weird if he flies up my nose. All right, so this is the cap. You can see the label still on it. It's square. We'll get her started here. Now the bushings on the Manager, you can see I didn't load the top and the bottom at once. I like to turn one piece at a time, no matter what. So whether I'm turning on a mandrel or TBC, I always turn one piece at a time. I just think it works better. So again, I'm just using the kind of front corner half of this this bit. And once I get it all rounded, I'll know because I'll start to get ribbons instead of chips. So there we go. Now we got ribbons flowing. We can come to the front and we can use our whole tool as it was intended. As Chris Caliendo intended us to. Chris is the owner of Easy Wood Tools. One of the owners, I should say. There's a couple. All right, so this one I'm going to make a little straighter. Right now I'm just taking material down. You can go one direction or both directions, whatever you're comfortable with. But this is considered a hybrid blank because it is wood and resin. All right, so all right, we got a question, go ahead. So the question is, do you ever have issues with the corner of the tool causing chip out? That's a really good question because that is possible. However, I'll tell you why I don't ever have an issue. So this tool, let me take this off for a sec. This tool is, it's always so hot when I take it off. This is a negative rake and it's radiused. So whenever you buy a carbide, any brand, this is an Easy Wood, but whenever you buy a carbide, typically the square tool comes with a perfectly square 90-degree corner. Now that is a much sharper corner than this. This being radiused, it's kind of smooth going into the point. So it's much more forgiving on the machine, or on the material. The other thing is I'm using that corner to cut. So essentially I'm cutting like a little tiny triangle over and over all the way across, back and forth. So I'm cutting so little by having the point on it that it doesn't cause chip out. Now, if you were turning maybe a polyester blank or something, it might cause chip out. But because these are Alumilite, it's going to be very rare and hard to actually cause a chip out. So I hope that helps, but the radiused is the way to go. If you get a new carbide cutter tool, plan on getting a radiused insert for it right away because the square tools are just much more brutal and less forgiving, or not less forgiving. All right, so I just got a tiny bit right here to get to my bushings. Oh, better turn this thing on. So I hope that answered your question. So I'm just gently turning right there and right there. And we're good to go. So that's the cap. And y'all can see, like, this is a fairly fast project, even though we're turning two things. So this is my bushing that I just took off of the cap. And now I'm using the other side because it's a two-piece on the bottom. All right. Does anybody have plans to make any gifts for Father's Day? I'd love to hear what anyone's planning because we got cool ideas, and everyone always has such better ideas. It's cool to hear. All right. Oh, good. So there you can see the corner, and you might be able to see it on the camera, I don't know, but I kind of went in a little further to show you the exact shape. And I'm throwing these perfect little triangle chips because of the way I'm cutting. It's matching the shape of my tool. And if you're running your lathe fast, you can knock those corners down really quickly in any material. All right, so I got ribbons. So I'll make this pass and then I'll come back. And you can see all those pulses like from the point, but none of that matters because it's all going away anyway. And there we got ribbons going. So now we're floating. floating these nice ribbons up in the air. They're nice until you have to clean them up. And this one is not tapered. Like the cap had a little bit of a taper. The middle was thicker. The bottom is more straight. But this is a great pen. Another question, let's hear it. The question is, why do I turn the two pieces separately? That's a great question, and you can probably see here better. So imagine if I had this piece and then another piece, my tailstock would be clear out here. Anytime you extend on your mandrel longer, then you have more chance of it bowing and flexing while you're turning, or if you bump it and bend it. And if it is bent, it'll have more chance to wobble. So anytime I can make it shorter by doing one piece, it's more rigid and firm, and I don't have to worry about those flex problems. So it's always for that reason, and I just think it makes better quality when you turn them that way. Now, if you turn two pieces at a time and it works for you, keep doing it. I'm not telling you not to, but that's why I do it. I just think I like it better. And honestly, it doesn't take that long to swap a piece out to the next piece. So it's not like I'm losing a lot of time or anything. All right, we have another question. Go ahead. Say that one more time. Oh, I see. So I believe the question, and you guys can clarify me if I'm wrong here. I believe the question is, won't this dull faster, this corner I'm using, than the rest? I don't notice that it does, and I've been doing this for like years and years. So it might, I guess, in the long run, but I switch these out enough that I probably don't even notice. If it did get dull, I probably would stop, but I've never noticed a problem. And then plus when I rotate, I'm gonna have a new corner that I focus on every time, so I don't think it's a big issue. But that's a good thing to think about. If it was regular steel, it would totally dull faster and worse. But okay, so this is unique. There's a lot of blue and a lot of Cholla scattered. So that wasn't intentional, but we're gonna make it work. Maybe I'm gonna just pop this off here real quick. Just to keep it out of my water. Just blowing that off. All right. So the cool thing is, once we're done turning, oh, it's not cool, I guess, because it's cooler in there. The cool thing is I can take that off, and I don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to move this out. Now, a couple things here. We are going to be doing a CA finish on this. So I do not want to leave my regular bushings on here. And I don't even like the bushings on it for if it was just resin. If you use the bushings with wood, you'll sand these little specks of metal into your blank. And it looks like little black dots, and you'll be wondering, where did those come from? I can't get rid of them. And it's metal, it's dust. Steel dust is black. So you don't even want to touch the bushings. So as soon as you're done turning, take those bushings off. Now you might have other opinions, and that's fine, but this is what I do, and I gotta say, it's worked real well for me. I'm gonna wet sand everything, even though this is wood, I'm going to wet sand it. And since we have 3 pieces that we're doing, by the time I wet sand this and then go to the other 2, this will be dry. This is stabilized in the blanks we make, the Cholla blanks. We have a bunch of colors. Whoa, I'm going way too fast here. Forgot to turn down the lathe. But we make a bunch of colors of the Cholla casts. So ours are stabilized. If I was doing it for myself alone, I probably wouldn't stabilize them because I haven't had a lot of issues. But because we want to put out like the best possible blank, we do stabilize them for everyone. And it's worth it. I mean, it makes really good quality. So being that it's stabilized, it'll obviously dry faster because it's not going to let as much water in because the wood has been injected with resin. So what I'm doing here with this sandpaper, this is 600, and I'm just wet sanding it. And all I'm doing with the sandpaper is trying to get out any tool marks that I left with my tool, or if I had like a low spot or a high spot and I want to sand around it, that's what I'm doing. So I start at 600. That's my really aggressive grit, if you want to call it that. And the reason is, with that carbide tool, you know, I don't know what the technical finish would be, but if you make a nice smooth pass on resin and wood or whatever, it's got to be a pretty fine grit, so to speak, of what the quality would be. And you can see, hopefully you can see, we'll go overhead. Like, I don't have any scratches in there. And the reason I dry it is because you can see the scratches better if you dry it. So it looks pretty good. All right, so that one's good. Now I'm going to Zona paper it. Oh, I was going to use magic juice too, but I didn't get it ready. So I always use Zona paper. You guys, if you've watched before, you've heard me talk about Zona. If you haven't, it's a polished paper. There's 6 sheets. It comes green all the way to white. And the equivalent grit is like 600 or 800. What was it, 600 or 800? 600 to 22,000. So it moves very quickly, and it makes this stuff look really good. Now there's other things you can use, like we carry a product called Magic Juice, and it's essentially a paste polish that is 6 different bottles, and instead of doing the 6 different papers here of Zona, I would do the 6 different polishes. So I'm going to do that here in the near future. I meant to get it out today, and I just didn't. But Zona is what I always use, so it's just kind of like what I always have ready. And it works really well. I use it on rings, pens, anything small that has like a really polished finish. It works really well. And you just want to keep it wet, keep it moving, move around the paper. Don't just sit in one spot or you'll pack it up. All right. But this is pretty cool. This stuff looks really good. And I like to leave this on for like 35 to 45 seconds per piece. I'm probably going to move a little faster today just for the sake of, I don't want to bore you guys to death with polishing.
You want to hear what's going on in the chat?
Yes, Amy, what is going on in the chat?
We're just talking about Cholla and like dyeing and stabilizing.
Yeah, you can dye Cholla, you can stabilize Cholla. It's really cool.
So somebody was mentioning that they have tried to do stabilizing with dye, and they have a really hard time getting the dye to absorb because the Cholla is already dense.
That's a good point. So Amy said somebody commented about getting the dye to absorb in Cholla. So every piece of Cholla is really different, and you'll get one piece that'll stabilize and dye really, really well, and the next piece will totally reject it. Like it'll hardly have any color in it, and you did it exactly the same way. So don't get discouraged if that's the case, but some of it is much more like forgiving and like accepting of the resin, and some is not. But that's why if I was doing it just for myself, I probably wouldn't even stabilize it unless I needed to color it, because it's usually so solid that the resin is enough to like hold it all together. But either way, all right, we're moving quickly through here. But it sounds like a good lively chat, huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Mark, I'm from Lake Havasu, and I don't remember there being a lot of gnats when I was a kid, but Bullhead and Havasu are about the same temperature, so it couldn't be the temperature.
I told him I was going to ask your mom if she knows.
Yeah, I'm going to have to ask my mom about gnats, because she still lives in Havasu, so interesting. All right, so this one's done. Done as far as polishing. Oh, wait a minute. What was I thinking? We're doing a CA finish. Oh, well. So this one is polished, even though I didn't really need to polish it. But, I mean, you can see here. Here, let's look. You can see how shiny the wood and the resin get. So I was just kind of brain fart there. I really only needed to sand it with the 600, and then I'm going to do a CA finish. So that was kind of unnecessary, but it'll just be a shiny under the CA finish. So much quicker to just sand it with 600. I dropped my finishing bushing.
Somebody says, love the state parks in Havasu and the desert bar.
Yeah, Havasu's an interesting place. If you've never been, Lake Havasu is where the London Bridge is. They brought it from England in the late 60s and reassembled it as like a tourist attraction, which it is, and it worked. The guy who started McCulloch chainsaws and like lawn equipment wanted to build a city there because he thought the lake was really cool, but there was nothing there. So he bought the London Bridge and moved it to Lake Havasu and then opened up a chainsaw factory. So there's a giant factory that was there probably into the 90s, late 90s, or maybe early 2000s. That was a chainsaw factory for McCulloch. And I don't even know if McCulloch's still around anymore. They were like yellow and black chainsaws. If I remember right, they weren't that great, unfortunately. But it was right down the street from my house, the factory. It's kind of cool. Tiny little town with a big old factory. All right, so this is 600. I'm just going to sand it like this. That's kind of a fun fact about like my hometown is the London Bridge.
It is a good fun fact.
So you can see this one, if I show you. Like it's very matte finish, but it's really smooth. There's no scratches. And that's perfect for what we want for the CA finish. All right, now this last one is the letter opener. Now this one doesn't have bushings. It's a 7 millimeter tube. So I'll go ahead and leave the finishing bushings on here just as spacers, but they're not going to go in the tube because the tube is the same size. But this way we can at least have a little room to work.
We have another question.
Another question, go
Are
ahead.
you concerned with contaminants and grit from the coarser papers in the water contaminating the later stages as you move to finer grit?
So the question is, am I concerned with the sanding stuff getting in the water for the later grits? No, I'm not. Maybe I should be, but however it sounds like, I think I'm really good at finishing, and it hasn't been a problem, so I don't worry about it. I did think about it from time to time, and I will say, if I sand something really weird or gross or it gets a lot of grit in there, I will change the water a couple of times. But something like this, I mean, I'm hardly getting any slurry off the paper because I'm just not sanding much, so I'm not concerned. And I do think most of it like settles pretty quickly. But if you are concerned, you can always like use a spray bottle so that your water's fresh and then it drips the dirty water into your thing. I have seen that done a lot, but it doesn't seem to be a problem for me, so I'm not concerned. If I was doing something super detailed, I might look at that, make sure it wasn't a problem. But it doesn't seem to be a problem. Good questions. That's more of a fine something versus like a woodworker. You know, woodworkers were like, oh, a little bit of dust, and it's like a cloud of dust everywhere. So good point, and probably I should, but I'm not. All right.
I told them you use the balance of the bar on the channel.
Oh boy. Doesn't that look cool? I hope that shows up in the thing. Okay. So I'm going to rotate. Now I'm going to do them in the same order that we just sanded. So I'll pull this guy off. Let him dry. Make sure my hand is dry before I pick up this new one. Yeah, do you guys have a cool fact about like your hometown? Did it have anything like the London Bridge or anything? Amy, where's your hometown? Flag?
Flagstaff.
What's cool about Flag?
I mean,
Amy grew up in Flagstaff, which is just up the mountain.
the mountains.
So Flagstaff's claim to fame is the mountains. I mean, that's a pretty good one.
I mean, yeah, the San Francisco Peak is the tallest spot in Arizona.
Yeah, that's true. Good call. Okay, so this is back to the pen body. We're going to do a CA finish, although it looks super shiny because I polished it all the way. But I got a little pile of paper towels I tore up right before we started. And I just like these little like strips. I fold it in half and have this little tuft. I don't wear gloves, but some people do, and you certainly can. I'm using BSI glue, which is my favorite glue now. Plenty of glues out there. Just use a good one. Use a good quality. I'm going to use thin for one quick pass. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to just put a little bit on my towel. Well, unless it's clogged.
Somebody said when I sand their CA finishes with Zona, they add a few drops of Dawn dish soap to the water. No science behind it being better. It just feels like it removes the micro scratches.
That's interesting. I've never tried that. Amy just told me about the Dawn dishwasher add-on. You know, maybe in the water it like tensions the water and takes away the surface tension, so stuff falls out of your way better too. I did open my bottle and make sure it looked good before I started. For you guys, I wasn't trying to waste your time, but for some reason it's clogged a little deeper.
You know, it's funny, earlier in the Facebook group, we were talking, or I was having a conversation with somebody about how not many people do matte finishes a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but they're actually really cool.
Yeah, I like matte finish. I like matte finish or Jim finish or Tom finish. It's a joke, Amy. Matte. It's like a person. All right, I need something small to poke a hole in this. Apparently I didn't put my lid on all the way. I don't know what I did here. We're going to give this one more second, then we're going to go to the next thing. I need something really fine to poke a hole.
How long do you have to go get your push pin?
I don't know if that's long enough or not. All right. I'm looking for something to poke a hole in my... Oh, I got it. I should always have one of these at the lathe. It's a titanium soldering pick, so everything comes off of it real easy. Oh, there you go. Barely any resistance. Okay, back to it. Sorry about that. So I'm going to put a little bit of thin CA on here. Now, I'm just coating it, and I just want to get it in that wood, or on that wood. And I'm moving quickly, and you see I like move my fingers a lot because I don't want to glue my fingers to it. But the thin sets really fast. So like it kind of goes on and it sets. Now if it didn't, I'd want to spin it a sec and then just tap it with a little accelerator. I'm going to get a clean sheet because that thin just soaks into your paper towel real quick. That's why I have several of these ready. Let's see if this one's good. All right, this one's good. So I put a little line on here. Oh, there's something on the edge of my thing. So I'm going to scrap that paper towel. There's a little bit of dust on the tip. All right, take 3. Put a little line, and I push it in, and then I slowly bring that across. So I put the first part of that line in, and then I bring it across. That way I'm kind of pushing it all evenly. If you wipe the CA on and then wipe it off, you're not doing yourself any favor because there's not going to be anything left. So I'm just going to make sure the ends are good. And now I'm going to flip it around. This is the end I just used. And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to push it on and across. And then I just touch it. Oh, see, I moved the CA. You can actually see it. And then in between each one, in between each layer, I should say, I'm hitting it with a little accelerator. So that's 2 coats. I generally do 4 or 5 coats, and that's it. What'd you say?
I was going to say when you're putting glue on your...
Oh, was I out of screen?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Over top of it.
Oh, yeah, good call. I have it kind of tight. So here's my line. Put the corner in, and then push it across, and I'm rotating it across. And then I just touch into the corner. Make sure you don't hit the surface. And I'm just getting any CA out of that end. And then spray. Line. And that last one, I kind of flattened it out. And then I'll spray it one last time. And that one, I'm going to call it good. So we're going to leave it just for a sec. Now, I always hear people, because they'll come into the store and say, hey, my CA doesn't look good, and I did 20 coats. You don't need 20 coats. I don't even think you need 7 coats, but if you want to, go ahead. 4 or 5 coats seems to always be enough. The problem most people have with CA is they put it on fine, and then they sand it all off, and they don't realize it. It sands super fast and easy. So what I'm looking at is just making sure everything looks good and even. It's relatively smooth, but I have these little lines in it from the rotation of the lathe. So that's what I got to sand out. So all I'm doing is sanding it flat and then stopping. I don't want to sand away that CA. So I've got a piece of 600 here. And actually, let's switch to 800 to make it even slower, because I'll be talking. So when you're doing CA finish, if you put the CA finish on and then grab 220 to sand it, you're toast. I think if you go below 600, you're toast, because even 400 or 320 is going to sand that CA off in like 10 seconds. So I'm going to leave it on this view to show you. But for sanding, I'm going to get it wet, and I'm pushing very gently, and I'm just moving across. And then I'll chase it kind of with my thumb to feel if it's smooth or if it's still rough. But you want to keep it wet and just apply nice even pressure. Now I do like to touch the ends real square. But I'm just making sure that those little lines are out, and I'll even stop it. And if you dry it, you can see if there's shiny lines, that means it's low and you need to sand a little more. So you can also sand by hand if you're worried about sanding off your CA. So that's a good thing to do. CA sands really, really fast. So this is not a bad idea. And remember, this is 800 grit sandpaper, so it's not crazy abrasive, but it'll do the job just fine. And if I did this for a few minutes, I'd sand through it for sure. All right. So I'll take a dry paper towel and dry it, and let's see if I can. So I don't know if it'll show up, but there's a bunch of shiny right there. That's a low spot. So I'll take my sandpaper. And they're just little streaks from the paper towel. Now, if I dry it off, there's hardly any. There's like one little speck. So you see how quickly that sands. And I got a couple up here by the edge. Get those off. But this should be nice and even when I rotate it, and I'm just drying it to see if I have any more lines. Looks great. All right, now we're gonna go to the Zona, for real this time. And the Zona, the lower grits will still remove material. So I'm wrapping and putting a slight pressure on it, but I'm not going crazy. I'm not really like squeezing it hard and pushing hard, but I just wanna keep it even. I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep rinsing it so that I get that debris in the water and not in the air, and I don't have it scratching the material. But I also don't wanna overheat it because CA is sensitive to temperature. So you can heat it up and melt it or crack it or do whatever if you're not careful. So this will go pretty quick. And I'm just really making sure that I have nice even pressure and I don't have to, push real hard. All right. All right, Amy, what's going on in the chat? You guys got quiet. Oh man, the sanding put them to sleep. It's always the wood turning curse is sanding. Not really. Oh, I dropped one of my papers. When I say 800, I'm talking about sandpaper. This is like a high quality automotive wet dry. We do sell 600 and 800 here, that's this, but you can get it at like a good auto body store that sells stuff. I will warn you, don't get the stuff from Harbor Freight. It's not good quality and it falls apart. And remember, somebody asked a question about stuff in your water. The first time I used the Harbor Freight stuff, it was like I had a bowl of sand and the paper just disintegrated. So the high quality stuff is really nice. It holds together well. It doesn't fall apart, but the Harbor Freight stuff did not work good. And I'm no Harbor Freight hater. I just don't think their sandpaper is very good. All right, let's get this thing going. We'll crank through this. It's going to be worth it for the final set here. And these finishing bushings, what's that? Oh, sorry. These finishing bushings are great for holding because they're tapered, so they hold any size. So you don't have to have a set for each pen or whatever, just one set. Now, if you don't have finishing bushings, you can also turn between centers, which is nice. Just make sure you don't apply too much pressure and bend your tube out or cause a flare. That's a common problem. Common issue. So these kind of prevent that, which is nice. And these come in sets of 4, so you have them for a long, long time. Like these are probably 3 years old, the ones I'm using, or maybe more. All right. Good stuff. We'll see how this looks when we're done. Now you can also, on CA Finish, you can also use like a plastics polish at the end or something, but I don't generally do that because usually the Zona does a good job. But if it didn't look like shiny enough or wet enough, throw a little plastics polish on there, just real gently. Just make sure you don't scratch it more than you just did with all your Zona paper. All right, we'll turn this thing off. All right, I would say that is pretty nice. Oh, good question. So I'm going to pat this, and I'm just trying to get the water off, but I don't want to scratch with the paper towel because paper towels are pretty abrasive. The question was, is there a reason I chose CA Finish? So I actually don't necessarily love CA Finish because it's so shiny. However, on hybrid stuff, wood resin, I do often do CA Finish. Got everything right in the way. So this is considered a hybrid, wood and resin. So I think the CA is good for two reasons. One is when I feel it, it's smooth and even. It's one feel versus having ups and downs. And two is I think because of the wood and resin, I think the CA helps it be less sensitive to like changes in air and humidity, because the wood will want to change, but the resin won't. And that's where you get real like differences in the feel. So like if the wood swells or shrinks. And I think this will help prevent that. And it does look really nice and shiny. Let's just see. So the finish came out really good. I don't see any scratches. I'd probably go over this with a little magnifier to make sure we didn't have any problems, but that looks pretty good. Let's do the next one. You guys have really good questions today. All right. So we sanded this. We're going straight to CA finish. I just want this just snug. I don't need it tight. Oh, I pushed that up there too close. That's what I'm doing. So when you have a live center, a lot of times you have to get your quill out a little bit before it'll seat. And I had it all the way back, so I was like, why won't it seat? All right, grab a fresh towel. I'm going to do my 1 coat of thin. And you can actually see it smoking. Maybe you can. That stuff cures so fast. It's kind of crazy. All right, we're going to accelerate it. And I'm going to grab, no, this was a fairly fresh piece. So I'm going to just, oh, what am I doing? Wow, I'm way out of whack here. I started sanding already. Trying to get you guys some excitement. Okay, so I need to make sure I dry that, because I just touched it with the wet sandpaper. Yeah, no, it's okay. I don't know what I was doing. Anyway. All right, so that was my thin.
Is it all gone now?
Boop, boop. No, I barely touched it and I realized what I was doing. Okay, so back to the all right, I'm just going to apply. And if you see a big bump, like I kind of have a line right here, you can kind of knock it down, move it around until you accelerate it. This is a Instaflex. So this is a flex medium. This is my favorite one. I have had real good luck with longevity on this stuff. So I'm not worried about it cracking. The flex is made for finish more than anything. And it works really well on pens or small stuff like this, I guess. So I think that's 2. We'll call this one 3. It's kind of 3 because I started sanding after the thin. Spray.
David from Bullhead, who claims famous the Bullhead Wave, said also your hometown is home of the boat trailer races.
Yeah, there's so many boat things in Havasu. It's crazy. I think that was 4, right? We're going to call it 4. All right, so let that spin for a sec. You see me touch it a lot after I spray that last round. And I just want to make sure it doesn't feel sticky or tacky. I mean, it feels perfectly hard and smooth. So we're going to grab, I think it was this one. This one. There's our paper. All right. Get that nice and smooth. And here's, I guess, kind of the point of this project too, is like we're making a pen letter opener combo. And I mean, we're going to spend, an hour and a half or something, and we're going to have a really awesome gift. So it doesn't have to take days to make something cool. I mean, it can if you want it to. All right, so we're moving to the Zona. That was pretty quick on the sandpaper. And again, I'm just trying to keep it wet. By wet sanding everything, I keep the dust in the water versus in the air, so I'm not breathing it. It clears my paper when I dip it, and it also keeps my parts smooth, or not smooth, but cool. So there's a lot of good reasons to dip your paper in there. Now, I did not take a look at this after I sanded, which I should have, so I'm going to do that right now. I want to make sure I didn't have any scratches that I missed. So again, I'm just drying it with my hand. Actually, it looks pretty good. And it doesn't hurt ever to go with the side grain like this, or horizontal grain, with the Zona or anything else. Because, I mean, a rotating lathe will put rotary marks in something. All right, this is looking pretty cool.
Yeah,
Now, what's that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I really like how the Cholla wasn't all the way around on it.
Oh, so that's funny. Amy said she really likes how the Cholla isn't all the way around because it's like kind of patchy and blotchy, I guess,
Yeah.
like color-wise. But I do prefer it to be like more even. I think it looks cool. But I don't mind this when it happens every once in a while because most of the time it looks more traditional. So you never know what you're going to get. All right. I got to wake everybody up. Do you have anything I could do to wake everyone up?
Tell another story.
I don't have a story. That was my one story. My one.
In the chat, they're talking about how there's an interesting story behind the boat show.
I'll tell you something cool story about my hometown. So when I was a kid, they were filming a movie in Lake Havasu called Jack the Ripper. And there was a guy in it from a little show called Knight Rider. Ever heard of it?
Oh.
And his name was David Hasselhoff.
But was Kit there?
No, it wasn't a Knight Rider show. It was a movie called Jack the Ripper. It was about what is Jack the Ripper? Is that the guy's name? The like legendary like thing in England. And the premise, I think, if I remember right, because I was very little, was they moved the London Bridge to Lake Havasu, and Jack the Ripper came with it, and now he was doing his thing there. So the Hoff came to catch him. And I don't remember how the movie went, but we got to meet David Hasselhoff, and it was some big deal. But I only knew him because of Knight Rider was so cool back then. But I remember watching them film a scene like behind one of the local stores that we went to all the time because they just had to find locations. And they had like fake rain going, and I was like, well, this isn't very accurate to Lake Havasu because it never rains here. So this is super fake. So the rain scene was a little stretch, but it was cool to like have Knight Rider.
Someone remembers that movie. Robin says, that was a terrible movie.
Oh, it was terrible. And I should watch it again because I probably haven't seen it since I was like 5 years old. But it was a terrible movie, but it was a big deal that Hoff was in town. But funny enough, Lake Havasu has lots of celebrities there because of like boating and stuff. It's like a huge boat town, and like there's $1 million boats and whatever. So there's always big celebrities there. Like I met a lot of celebrities as a kid because they're just there like partying on the lake. So anyway, funny memories. And I did not hassle the Hoff, if anyone's wondering. Dang it, I dropped 2 now. I got to bail on it. Okay. So let's see how this looks. That was a little early because I dropped my final Zona. Looks pretty good. We'll call it good. Now I do see one little line in there that if I'm being nitpicky, I probably would want to sand out, but I'm going to roll with it. All right, so we got the pen done. We got to just do one more body for the seam, or not the seam ripper. Dads don't want seam rippers. Well, maybe they do. I don't know. All right. Just gonna make sure this is dry because I was sanding and now I'm.
We're supposed to have the Knight Rider theme stuck in our head now.
What is the Knight Rider theme? I don't even remember it. It's been so long.
I can't do it.
The car's name was Kit, but what was Hasselhoff's name?
No one cares.
No one cares?
That car was awesome. The car talks to me.
The car was beyond its time, or early of its time, I guess. All right, so final round. What am I going to do first? Y'all already know. We're going to do a thin CA coat. Rub it in. We're done with that, so I'm getting it out of the way. We're going to tap it with the spray. We're going to grab a new piece of paper. We're going to do our medium flex. I guess I got to tighten that up. Medium flex, first coat. Float that finish all the way across. Now I got lots of room on these ends, so I want to make sure I don't get any CA in there. Hit it. Coat number 2.
Oh, duh. Darren says his name was Michael Knight in the Knight Rider.
Oh yeah, the Knight Rider, duh. Good call. All right, spray, that's 2. All right, 3. And you can see I'm like just barely gently pushing it. Spray. Let it spin. 4. And I'm going to make sure this last one is as even as I can get it. Check those ends. Hit it with that. And let that spin. So that's it for the medium flex, BSI medium flex. I got a fresh piece of 800 here because I don't want to contaminate anything. Feels good. All right, and I'm going to just keep my shape. You know, one other thing, I was talking to somebody about CA finish, and sometimes you can take like a thin CA and apply it and let it soak in and then sand it all off. And even if you're doing a regular finish of some other finish, I shouldn't say regular, but some other type of finish, that thin CA will fill in all those little micro things you can't see, and it'll make it much better, like as far as flatness and perfect smooth for what you're doing. Okay, I got a little bit more to do here. So
What's the RPM when you're applying CA?
I'm at like 880. I try to be between 7 and 900, so I'm on the high end right now. 7 to 800 is probably the best, but I'm a little fast at the moment. You know, you can vary that to like whatever, because you can move a little faster, but you do risk putting more scratches or sanding it off faster if you are going faster.
And that was BSI Flex, right?
BSI Flex, yeah. Well, the first coat is thin, regular thin BSI. It's called super thin. And then the flex I'm using is medium flex. And, you know, if you have a different brand, just use whatever you have. But if you're buying it, try the BSI. It's great. Okay, we look good. We're nice and clean. So we're going to hit up the Zona paper. All right, the thing's taking some slurry off of there. So I gotta be careful I don't overdo it. Feels real nice though. So I had to switch to some different Zona because I dropped 2 of my sheets. And I don't know what I sanded with this, but it's got red dust on it. The dust won't get into the material, but it'll just be inhibitor of like doing a good job, or it could mar it if it's too thick. All right.
We have a few questions
Few questions at a review. Let's go.
Does it matter how many coats of CA finish you put on?
Does it matter how many coats of CA finish you put on? I mean, essentially, no. However, a couple things to remember about CA is you are adding layers of plastic, essentially. Darn it, I cannot keep Zona in my hand today. So the more coats of CA you put on it, the thicker it's going to be. And if you just turn down to your bushings, you're building up above your bushings. So be aware of that. The main thing is and this is just my opinion because I don't have anything to back it other than doing it a million times. My opinion is you need at least like 4 to 6 is probably ideal. I don't feel like more than 6 is necessary, but if you do, that's fine. If you're a heavy sander, or that is why you do so many coats, you're just sanding them off anyway. So if you're careful and pay attention and really like focus on what you're doing, you probably don't need those extras. I hope that makes sense.
And then somebody asked, is thin CA better than myelin sanding sealer?
Is thin CA better than myelin sanding sealer? Well, totally different things. Myelin sanding sealer, if you're doing something larger, definitely the way to go. On a pen, you could do either, and they would work just fine. I don't know. I'd venture to say like thin CA, if you do what I said about putting it on and then sanding it off. I feel like thin CA would seal it better because it's so like good at it, but I don't know that it's better, so to speak. Oh, there's my white. I thought I dropped it. So kind of apples and oranges. If you have sanding sealer, I'd probably use it, but thin CA does make a nice like base for sanding. And you don't even know it's there because you sand off most of it, like 99% of it is gone. But what stays is the little tiny micro holes in the grain or micro holes in the wood that you can't even see anyway, and that's what makes it so glassy and so shiny. All right. Good questions, y'all. Okay. So, I mean, obviously these are quick jobs, but I dare you to tell me that's not good looking, right?
Looks shiny all the way across the room.
Yeah, I mean, this looks really good. And it's probably not perfect if I take a microscope to it, but I mean, I don't see any lines or scratches. I don't see any dull spots. If you do your CA and then you have like one dull spot, a circle or a stripe, it means you sanded through the CA. Somebody just brought one into the store the other day, and that's what it was. So there's that one. That is the letter opener. So if you have that dull spot, you don't have to take it all off. You can sand it off, but just essentially put it on and do another coat of CA on it and fill it in and build it back up and then sand it. All right, let's assemble, people.
We got another question.
Yeah, another question.
Do you think a mandrel or turning between centers is better, or like what's your preference?
So the question is, do I think a mandrel or turning between centers is better? I have a very strong opinion. I think turning between center whenever you have the opportunity is the best way to go. That being said, TBC bushings are mostly only made for the most popular kits. There are adapters, but they're not quite the same, but they are nice. But the adapters are at the mercy of the bushing. So if you have like, pot metal bushings from China, they're still pot metal bushings from China, just on an adapter. But most TBC bushings are better made and more precision. So whenever I can, I use TBC bushings. However, I do turn on a mandrel a lot because that's what's available for a lot of the not so popular kits. That's an excellent question again. Okay, so let's look at this. This is the letter opener. So super simple kit. This is the number 11. That's the blade. Now how this works is it has an end that presses in and a front that presses in, and then the blade threads into the front. Now, if you get one of these kits, this is how it comes. Don't try to press on the blade. Unthread it. There's always going to be a way to take something off so you can press it in. Take that off and unthread it and put that. Now, here's an interesting thing. if we wanted to make sure that the blade was like with the cholla or against the cholla, whatever, we can kind of like see where the blade is when it's all the way screwed in and press on it and then unthread the blade. And this is the same kind of thing I do with a cap to make sure I align it properly. I'm going to hold that in place and put it in the press. I'm using a Miles Craft pen press. This is my favorite pen press, and it did make the best gifts for Dad. So if you want to get your dad a pen press, this is the one to get. All right, that's the front. I'm going to do the back. I don't have to worry about any alignment. Whoop. Or do I? Because I just went askew. So see how crooked that went? If I'd have kept pressing, I probably would have cracked my blank. But I can just kind of straighten it out, put it back in, and try again. And there it went in good. Oh, come on, people. Look at this thing. So this should be lined up flat blade to the cholla because of that way I held that in there. So, really pretty. All right, that's step one. Step two is the pen. So this is the cap. There is a little taper to this, so I got to pay attention. And I can't tell. That's definitely the thin end. Okay, so this is the clip end. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the clip in the open blue because that's what I like. Are you cool with that, Amy?
Yeah. Ralph in the chat says for turning on a mandrel, I highly recommend mandrel saver.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, Ralph is definitely right. Mandrel saver all the way. Now, I'm going to pause right there. There's my other piece. But I'm going to go ahead and put in the body parts. Now, this is the same on both ends in the manager, so I don't have to worry. However, if I like one end over the other for whatever reason, I think this will look better as the back end. I don't know why. I just do. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to make sure I push straight. So if it goes crooked at all, I want to stop and adjust it. Now this is the front. This is where the section goes in. This is the section coupler. I'm going to move one block so I have room. And then I can always put it back. All right. Now, one thing I want to do is I'm going to thread this onto here because by doing that, I can then look at my cap and say, okay, I want the cholla to be here. See how I have blue there and cholla and cholla? So I'm going to kind of wiggle that in a little bit, and then I'm going to unthread this. I feel like there should be a cooler word than unthread, like disthread. Carrie, did you come for the show? All right, I'm going to push this in. And by aligning it like I did there, now, when I put this all together, put the spring in, the ink in, make sure that pushes the spring down in there, the section, and you're going to want to wipe this off because putting fingerprints all over it. Now this should line up fairly well. Now keep in mind they may have multiple starts. So you may have to back it out and restart it if it doesn't. But there you see I caught the blue and the cholla together. And then, look at that. So this manager kit has these 3 rings in the middle. And the 11 letter opener had the same feature. So I kind of thought they looked good together. Are they supposed to go together? I don't even know.
They are now.
They are now. They're a kit. So this is a roller ball. You could do fountain or roller ball. But I mean, how cool is that for a gift? Put that in a gift box. You got a killer looking. And see that blue pearl? Here, I'll bring it over here. I feel like this camera's a little more bright. So, there it is. The letter opener and the manager kit. Now, real quick, manager. I talk a lot about the manager to people in the store because if you're starting out and you're like, hey, I want to get a fountain pen kit, but you don't want to spend a lot of money, the manager's what are these? $8.99, $9.99? They're under $10. I know that. They're either $8 or $9.99. But it's a cool pen because the top and the bottom are the same tube size, so it's relatively uniform. It's not a bigger cap. It looks cool. Comes in rollerball or fountain. And the fountain nibs are decent. They're not the top of the line, but they're pretty good and they work well. So that's what's important. A lot of times cheap fountain pens, the nibs are really crappy, but these are pretty decent. So it's a great one to try. We do have starter sets, I think, with the Manager, but makes a great pair here. I think that looks killer. Oh, $7.99? $7.99, $8.99. So great deal. But yeah, that's a cool looking set, wouldn't you say?
Really pretty.
You could open so many letters. And this would like, that's so much easier than just tearing it. Like you risk paper cuts when you tear it. This, no paper cuts. Now, I don't know that this will open your Amazon packages. That's a different kit. Because this is a letter opener, it's more blunt. Yes?
Everybody wants to know what the foam is.
What the foam is. What the foam? Oh. Amy said everybody wants to know what the foam is right there. This is super secret. I can't talk about it. If you look up here, it's all the way around here. It's sound deadener foam. It's little 1x1 feet of... You can see it right here too. It's just foam, sound deadener, and Amy ordered it for this space, and she may have ordered like an extra 100 of those. So, I don't know. So I use them all over the place. I use them like this so that stuff doesn't roll away. I have clean ones and dirty ones for like the dusty covered ones. I put all my pens on them on the trays when they're done. So it's just little sound foam. Do you remember any more details?
If you type in
Studio Tile, it might be called. But they're relatively cheap. I think a pack of 20 was like $10, right?
They were, I don't remember, but they were.
They're not very, it's just foam. It's just a piece of foam.
It's not hard on the bottom or anything.
No, it's not like rigid. It's just soft foam. But it is handy. Kurt even cut some like strips, and he has this long piece glued in front of the metal lathe so he can set his tooling on it and it won't roll away. So, I mean, it's handy stuff. Amazon's going to sell a bunch of this now because of all these uses. It's good stuff. All right, so that's our set. Any other questions? Real quick before we go, I got something to say. Did we lose everyone in the sanding portion? So next week, I won't be able to do a live next week. I'm going to be traveling, but there will be a video, so look for that. And the Father's Day stuff, there's a good Father's Day sale going until the 12th, and it's all project kits, 15% off. Top Choice project blanks, 15% off. Bolt action kits are 10% off. What else am I missing?
Bolt action kits, the Herald.
Oh, the Herald. If you're looking for a lathe, the Herald is already on sale basically at $9.99. They kept the winter promo going for us, Record did. So it's $9.99, which is $200 off. But for Father's Day, we at Turner's are throwing in an SC2 chuck. So if you need a lathe, that's a good time to get one. That's a great thing, though. But that goes till the 12th, but not everything is in high supply. So if you want something, get it. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say that the next 2 weeks are travel, so the next live stream will be on the 19th.
Oh, okay, so I won't be on live for the next 2 weeks because I'll be gone each day. The next live stream will be the 19th, but please watch the videos we post because we're going to put a lot of work into them, or we have already put a lot of work into them. And like, we appreciate you watching them. And they'll be good, hopefully.
We got a little time lapse of Carrie's pen, too.
Oh, time-lapse video of Carrie's pen coming soon. When are you posting that? In the next week? You guys got the sneak preview here, so it'll be in the next couple weeks.
I'll post it next week.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it. If you're a wood turner, share our channel with other people. You know, this channel's really new, so we're like the smallest wood turning channel there is. So you got to help us catch up to the big boys because we're new. Couple quick things.
Acoustic foam.
Acoustic foam, that makes sense.
And then also people are asking if we're going to be at SWAT.
It is not temperature foam, I'll tell you that, because it feels like it's 105 in here. Will we be at SWAT? Yes. I will be at SWAT, Amy will be at SWAT, and Carrie will be at SWAT.
Woohoo!
So if you have questions about that nice watch part pen, you can ask Carrie. And if you have questions about the acoustic foam and how much to order, you can talk to Amy at SWAT.
Shout out to David Martin, first time and alive. He really enjoyed
David Martin, thanks for joining us for the first time. We appreciate it. We do these things to show you guys like cool projects. Hopefully it's stuff you want to make. But check out Turner's Warehouse if it's your first time. We've got all kinds of turning stuff, fun stuff. Anything else I forgot to say?
I think that's it.
And if it's your first time watching this, go check out some of the past videos and past live streams because there's a bunch of really cool, fun stuff on there. All right, that's all I got. We're out of here, or I'm out of here.